Have you ever had one of those days or weeks or maybe even years where you feel like the universe is just conspiring against you? Like, no matter how hard you try, you're just plain cursed? Well, today, we're going to dive into the story of a man who felt exactly that, and how his journey from being called an unlucky egg to a grandmaster reveals this really powerful idea for turning our biggest obstacles into our greatest strengths. Okay, let's get into it.
This was the cry of our guy, a young man at his absolute breaking point. And you know, it's a feeling I think we can all relate to, right? That moment of pure frustration when you just look up at the sky and have to ask, why me? This single question is really where our entire story kicks off.
So, meet Lu Xiaoxiao. He's a brilliant young carpenter from a little town called Qingyun. The funny thing is, his name, Xiaoxiao, actually means small. His dad chose it hoping he'd live a small, simple, quiet life. But, as we're about to see, fate had much, much bigger and a whole lot more troublesome plans for him.
Now here's the crazy part. Lu Xiaoxiao was a genius. I mean, people said the dragons he carved could literally fly, and the phoenixes he sculpted could sing. But, despite this incredible talent, any big project he got his hands on was mysteriously, like clockwork, doomed to fail. And that's how he earned this deeply frustrating nickname.
I mean, it was just a relentless pattern. He builds this gorgeous pavilion for the mayor, an earthquake hits. He crafts an amazing wedding bed for a wealthy merchant. A fire from the building next door turns it to ash. He even tries something simple for himself, like building a chicken coop, and a herd of wild boars tramples it. You'd almost have to laugh if it wasn't so tragic.
So, at his absolute lowest point, completely broke and all alone, this mysterious, kind of eccentric old man named Mu Lao Guai shows up. He sees the potential in Lu Xiaoxiao and introduces him to this powerful concept, an idea that is going to completely reframe his entire life, Zhang Shang Yang.
The old man tells him, this isn't a grudge, this is Zhang Shangyan. And it's a fascinating idea. It basically means that some obstacles aren't there to stop you. They're actually catalytic forces, in disguise. Challenges put in your path specifically to accelerate your growth and push you toward true mastery.
And this quote just nails it. Mu Lao Guai explains that the heavens see his potential. Sure, without all these trials, he'd still be a good carpenter, but he'd never become a great one. The adversity wasn't a punishment. It was more like a curriculum, custom designed just for him.
With absolutely nothing left to lose, Lu Xiaoxiao follows the old man deep into the mountains. And this is where his real training was about to begin, starting with a series of tasks that seemed, honestly, designed for failure, right there on the edge of a cliff.
So the challenge was to build a pavilion. But just look at these conditions. First, he could only use the gnarled, useless wood he could find growing between the rocks. Second, it had to survive these relentless, almost hurricane-force winds at the top of the mountain. And third, get this, he couldn't use a single nail. This wasn't just carpentry. It felt like a suicide mission.
Okay, so trial number one was all about the material. This wood was so hard and twisted, it kept breaking his tools. But because he was forced to work with it, he stopped seeing it as flawed. He learned to really read its grain, and he discovered that its interlocking fibers gave it a kind of toughness that perfect, straight wood could never have. He realized the flaw was actually its hidden strength.
Now for the second trial, the wind. Time and time again, he'd build a frame and a violent gust would just send it plummeting into the canyon below. After completely breaking down, he had this breakthrough. He thought, instead of building a wall to fight the wind, what if I designed something that worked with it? So he started studying its patterns, and he ended up creating this streamlined design that just let the gales flow right through.
And the final piece of this impossible puzzle, no nails. This constraint forced him to push the art of joinery to its absolute limit. He actually invented a totally new technique, a kind of dovetail bite, where the more pressure the wind put on the structure, the tighter and stronger the joints became. He literally turned that destructive force into a source of stability.
So after 3 years of this, well, hellish training, Lu Xiaoxiao comes down from the mountain. He's not the bitter, unlucky kid who left. He's quiet, he's focused, he's completely transformed. And he arrives back in town just in time to face the ultimate test. His town needed a bridge over this treacherous, raging river, a project so dangerous that all the famous master craftsmen had already said, no way. When Lu Xiaoxiao steps forward and offers to build it, the townspeople just laugh at him. In their eyes, he's still just the unlucky egg, a walking disaster.
But Lu Xiaoxiao is a different man now.
He completely ignores their mockery. He just calmly heads back to the mountains to gather the very same useless, twisted wood they all rejected, because he knew its hidden strength. The floods and storms that hit during construction, they didn't even faze him. To him, they were just old friends from the cliffside.
And then, the day comes. The bridge is finished. The river is raging below, but the bridge stands firm. Its strange, gnarled timbers locked together in this perfect, unshakable embrace. When the first cart crosses safely to the other side, the entire town just falls silent. And in that one moment, the unlucky egg died, and Grandmaster Lu was born.
So, what can we take away from this incredible transformation? Let's try to distill the core wisdom of Zhengshan Yuan and see how this ancient concept can apply to the challenges that we all face in our own lives.
This was Lu Xiaoxiao's ultimate realization. You know, the very obstacles that once defined his failures, the weak ground, the fire, the chaotic forces of nature, they weren't just roadblocks. They were actually the raw materials for his greatest success. They were the very steps he used to climb higher.
And if you look back at his early curse, you can actually see the seeds of his mastery. That collapsed pavilion, it taught him everything about foundations. The burned bed, it taught him about moderation. All that constant failure forced him to innovate in ways a successful carpenter would never have had to. You know this saying, smooth seas do not make skillful sailors? Well, his life was a stormy sea, and it made him a grandmaster.
And this, right here, is the heart of Zhengshan Yan. The challenges we face are not deviations from our path, they are the path. They aren't punishments we have to endure, but a custom curriculum designed by life itself to forge us into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable than we were before.
So I'll leave you with this thought. What is the biggest challenge you're facing right now? That project, that relationship, that personal struggle you're dealing with? What if it's not just bad luck? What if it's your Zhengshan Yuan? What might it be trying to teach you?